Just a word on fire and brimstone, the idea that God is a God of judgment and he is a being that hates iniquity, he despises it, he sympathizes, he has compassion with mankind, he understands that all men have been born with a nature which makes them prone to sin. It's in our flesh, it's in our DNA ever since the fall, ever since Adam. And that's the reason why God sent Jesus Christ, so that we could have the power to overcome that sin. And, by his grace, that we would have a new nature, a nature which is identical to Jesus Christ, and that we would be born again by the Spirit of God. And the Spirit of God will give us the ability to live over sin. And what God is saying is that since Jesus Christ ascended into heaven, that he's always had a remnant of people who have told the nations about the grace of God. But linked to the idea of the grace of God is also the idea that there's a judgment aspect of God. And God is somebody who will judge the nation, somebody who does judge people on a daily basis. When people die, it's because God has taken them. God is in control of life and God is in control of death. And God is somebody who is going to judge the nations. And the word that I got was fire and brimstone. And we understand that in the days of Noah, God destroyed the earth with water, with a flood. And in the last days, the earth is going to be reserved for fire and for brimstone. And all of the works of mankind are going to be burnt up and placed asunder. I can remember there was one time I was preaching on the tram, and there was a guy came up to me at the end, and he opened up to me, told me he'd given his life to Christ a few years back, and he was telling me some of the visions and dreams that God has shown him. I won't go through all of them, but one of them that he had, he said that this was the first one that he had, and this is when he decided to give up his life to Christ. And in it, he said that everyone was just chilling. He was with his friends, smoking and drinking. And then suddenly he looked up into the heavens and he saw that there was fire, like mountains of fire, like coming down to destroy the earth. And he said that a lot of his friends, he was telling his friends, he was like, this is the judgment of God. And they were just like, no, you're crazy. And like other people were like, dismissing it and saying that it was just like a natural cataclysm and that there was nothing behind it, that there was no like intelligence behind it that was actually bringing about the devastation purposefully. And that's how it's going to be in the end days. People who talk about God are going to continually get mocked. People are going to say that we're not coming from God, that we're not talking about God. And it's going to be as it was in the days of Noah. Even as Jesus said, it says that even as the days of Noah, people are just going to be getting away and doing their own things, pretending like there's no God. And this is an aspect of God that we will realize the closer, the deeper that we get into Jesus Christ, we'll understand that God is a God of judgment and that God is somebody that loves righteousness. We need to remember that the same God that that brought down fire and brimstone upon Sodom and Gomorrah and only saved Lot's family is the same God that we admittedly serve today. And yes, we're living in a period where grace is abounding in all of our lives. We're living in a period, even as the prophet Joel said, that the Spirit of God is being poured out into the people. People are receiving the Spirit of God through Jesus Christ. But that does not change the fact that God is somebody who owns this earth. And as somebody who owns this earth, he looks down upon earth every single day from his throne. And he's grieved. The reason why he destroyed the earth in the days of Noah is because he was grieved, he was upset. This is an aspect of God which we may at times find difficult to comprehend, but God is a being that has feelings. He gets joyful, he gets unhappy, he gets angry, he gets wrath. And this is not surprising because we were made in his image. So the same emotions that we have, God has them as well. And what makes God happy is when we go through his Son, Jesus Christ, we believe, we have faith in Jesus, we have faith in God and hope in God. When we believe in his word and when we walk in holiness, you will feel that God is happy with you. You will experience that happiness and joy that God has and the peace that he brings you. On the other hand, God gets wrath. I've experienced God's anger before, and it's not fun. Now, God is saying that fire and brimstone is going to be showered upon the rebellious and those in the last days who continue to reject the gospel of Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ is the only way to receive the Spirit of God and to receive salvation. And only through the grace of Jesus Christ can a man who was naturally born and placed in bondage to sin, Jesus Christ is the only way that he can overcome that and live a holy life. So before the judgment comes, we've all got the opportunity to believe that Christ died for us on the cross and that God raised him from the dead. And when we do that, the grace of God will abound in your life and your name will be written in the book of life.